Chapter 10. Flames in the Forest. Robin was about to mount his bicycle. Suddenly, he spotted smoke rising from behind the distant line of trees. "It looks like a forest fire," said Pinku to his friend. "It's nowhere near the road," said Robin. "There's a strong wind," said Pinku, looking at the dry leaves swirling across the road. It was the middle of May, and it hadn't rained for several weeks. The grass was blown and the leaves of the trees were covered with dust. Even though it was about 6 o'clock in the evening, the boys' shirts were damp with sweat. "It will be getting dark soon," said Pinku. "You'd better spend the night at my house." "No, Pinku," said Robin. "I need to be home tonight. My father isn't keeping well. The doctor has given me some pills for him." "You'd better hurry then. That fire seems to be spreading," said Pinku. "It will take me only 40 minutes to ride through the forest." "Bye, Pinku. See you tomorrow." Robin mounted his bicycle and set out. His village was about 7 miles on the other side of the forest. He rode swiftly out of the village. Ahead of him, the smoke rose from the burning forest and the sky glowed red. He soon left the village far behind. He was now pedaling on the edge of the forest. This was the part Robin enjoyed the most. The wind was rushing past him, blowing his hair about his face and making his shirt billow out behind him. The smoke was thicker now, and Robin caught the smell of burning timber. But ahead of him, the road was clear. He rode on. It was a rough, dusty road through the forest. Tall trees grew on either side, but the spreading glow of the fire on the right lit up the road. Usually, the road was deserted, but this evening, wild creatures were fleeing from the forest fire. The first animal that Robin saw was a hare, leaping across the road in front of him. It was followed by several more hares. Then, a band of monkeys ran across, chattering excitedly. "They'll be safe on the other side," thought Robin. "The fire won't cross the road," but it was coming closer. Robin pedaled harder. He thought, in half an hour, he should be out of the forest. Suddenly, from the side of the road, several peasants rose in the air. With a whoosh, landed just in front of the oncoming bicycle. Taken by surprise, Robin fell off the bicycle. He got up and saw that his knee was bleeding. It wasn't a deep cut. He took out his handkerchief and bandaged his knee. Then he mounted the bicycle again. He rode a bit slower now, because birds and animals kept coming out of the bushes. Smaller birds too were rushing across the road. Parrots, jungle crows, owls, magpies, and the air was filled with their cries. Robin could see the flames from behind the trees on his right, and he could hear the cracking as dry leaves caught fire. The air was hot on his face. A herd of deer crossed the road, and Robin had to stop until they had passed. Then he rode on, but now he was in fear. From ahead came a faint clanging sound. A fire engine! There were no fire engines within 50 miles. Soon, Robin discovered that the noise came from a small boy who was running along the forest path with 2 milk cans clattering at his side. "Tony!" called Robin, recognizing the boy. "What are you doing out here?" "Trying to get home, of course," said Tony, panting along beside the bicycle. "Jump on," said Robin, stopping for him. Tony was only 8 or 9, a couple of years younger than Robin. He had come to deliver milk to some road workers, but the workers had left at the first sign of the fire, and Tony was hurrying home with his cans still full of milk. He got up on the crossbar of the bicycle, and Robin moved on again. "Keep beating your milk cans so that the animals will know we are coming," said Robin. "My bell doesn't make enough noise." The fire was much closer now. Flames shot up. Smoke billowed out above the forest. Robin's eyes were burning, but he couldn't stop now. Another 15 minutes of steady riding would get them to the small wooden bridge on the river. that separated the forest from the sugarcane fields. Once across the river, they would be safe. Clang, clang, clang went Tony's milk cans, but the sounds of the fire grew louder too. "Oh, look!" exclaimed Robin, bringing the bicycle to a sudden stop. An elephant was standing in the middle of the road. It moved about restlessly, its big ears flapping, wondering which way to go. From the left, where the forest was still untouched by fire, a herd of elephants moved towards the river. The leader of the herd raised his trunk and trumpeted a call. Hearing it, the elephant on the road raised its own trunk and trumpeted a reply. Then they walked off into the forest. "Come, Tony, jump on," urged Robin. "We can't stay here much longer." Tony sat on the crossbar. Robin pedaled swiftly. "We're nearly there," said Tony. On their way, they saw a jackal in the middle of the path. It was either dead or unconscious because of the heat and smoke. Robin rode at top speed. They were close to the river. Robin and Tony went into the water. The water was only knee-deep, but it was very cold. Together, they pulled the bicycle through the water. The river was quite swift in the middle. They kicked off their shoes, knowing that the shoes would be lost. Then, gripping the smooth stones of the riverbed with their toes, they reached the opposite bank and sat down on the grass. "We can rest now," said Robin. They watched the fire as it continued to spread. It had crossed the road down which they had come. The sky was bright red, and the river reflected the color of the sky. Several elephants had found their way down to the river. They were cooling off by spraying water on each other with their trunks. Further downstream, there were deer and other animals. Robin and Tony looked at each other in the glow of the fire. They hadn't known each other very well before, but now they felt they had been friends for years.